Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back. Today, I'm going to be attempting to make a bread that comes from the Shanxi region of China, and it's called shijimo. And it looks incredible because it uses a technique that looks absolutely fascinating. It uses heated stones, small pebbles that have been oiled and heated to cook flat bread, leaving perfect little dimples and indentations in the flat bread. It looks incredible. I want to try it so badly. So I started thinking about how to collect river stones to make this project and this recipe. But in one of the videos I saw, they used perfectly round ceramic, I'm assuming spheres, to cook the bread, and it left the most perfect little indentations in the bread. And I said, how would I do that? And then I remembered I have round ceramic pie weights, which are used to put inside of a pie crust shell. And you can par bake your shell so that you don't have a soggy bottom pie. How perfect, right? And I said I could use those. Those can withstand the heat. They absorb the heat and should be perfect for making this bread. So behind me, I've got my little ceramic beads heating up in a 400-degree oven. Actually, it's at 350 and waiting so I can cook my bread. The process for cooking this bread is pretty simple. You have a wok or some sort of heating element that have these preheated stones or pebbles that are oiled, and they're nice and hot, and then a flat bread dough is placed on top, and then more hot stones are placed on top of that. So there's like a hot stone sandwich happening. Bread's allowed to cook, and then it's shaken off, all those pebbles, leaving beautiful little indentations in a light and beautiful round bread. I also saw like a stick version, but most of the ones I saw were round. And from what I've read, the texture of the bun, it's translated as stone bun, it's actually more like a cracker. It can be eaten as a snack, paired with food, or crumbled on top of things. So today we're here to attempt to make it. So I was able to find one recipe for shijimo in Chinese, and that's what we're going to be using today. I'll put a link down below to the original, and we're going to be cooking it in the oven as the recipe directs. So I made the dough already, but forgot to turn on this main camera. So I'm doing this for the second time, but let me walk you through the process of what I've done for the dough already. So in a large bowl, place 130 grams of water and crack one egg and beat that together until the egg is well incorporated. Add your yeast and your sugar, whisk that in, and then add your flour. So then incorporate the ingredients together. This dough is going to be quite dry, and this is where I'm at right now. It's sat here to rest for about 10 minutes, and when working with wheat floured doughs, that often is the best case scenario, where you let the dough just rest for a little bit, half an hour, and that gives the wheat enough time to rehydrate, absorb the liquid, and also it allows the gluten or the proteins in the flour to kind of relax and makes it less resistant when you are trying to knead it. So this is where we're at now. And now we're going to cover this and let this rest for a total of a couple hours. It says 1 hour and then another half an hour, and then it says to preheat your stones for half an hour. So that's a total of about 2 hours. So in that time, the yeast will start to activate and rise, and I have a swap out here. So let me show you what it looks like now. So here we are. Look at the difference from that to that. So let's go ahead and shape our dough. The dough is fluffy, much fluffier than it was before. And we're going to divide this into, the recipe says 8 pieces. Very stiff dough, very, very stiff. So while researching this recipe, I found another version of flatbread that uses a similar technique of hot stones, and it came from the Persia region. It's called sangak, but the dough recipe seemed to be different. Not at all sweet, definitely savory, and often used sourdough. So might have to experiment with that recipe if this one goes well. So I press this out with my fingers because this dough is very resilient. I'm going to roll this out, and in the videos I saw, this looks about right. It had a slight yellow color to it, and the breads weren't so thin, but they weren't exactly thick either. This is not turning out as round as I would like, but this is my first one. So there we have it. Set it over here. And now I'm going to grab my heated stones. Here are my preheated stones, pie weights. Whoa! Maybe I should use a spoon. It's a good idea. All right, these look like beans, but I hope they don't sound like beans. So, scooping up my pie weights. Now I'm going to place my bread on top. Make sure there's enough on the top and the bottom. I could have more pie weights, I think. Then I'm gonna pour these on top, and kind of press them in. I think I need a shallower pan to collect all my beads. And then we're gonna pop this back into the oven and bake it for 15 minutes at 400 degrees, and then we'll take them out and see how this is. It does say to give them a good press so we can get those bead marks in there. All right, my lovelies. I need more beads. I think I'm going to use a smaller pan for the next one so that the beads are more contained. I keep calling them beads, but ceramic balls. What do you call these? So, back into the oven for 15 minutes at 400. Okay. All right. Bye. Looks like garbanzo beans. Not garbanzo beans. Oh yes, this looks very promising. That's very hot. Wow. Okay, lovelies, this is looking very promising. Very promising. Okay, let me just show you this up close because I want you to see. Here's the bread that looks like it's covered with garbanzo beans. Now let's remove the beads. Whoa. Look, 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 look. Look. Yes. Okay, hot stones going everywhere. That's very cool. Okay, I got hot stones on this side too. Okay, this will be easier to do like this. So these little beads got really embedded in here, so I'm really having to push them out. What I noticed on the vendor videos I saw, the stones are very well oiled. So I tried oiling these, and my kitchen proceeded to get quite smoky. So this is new to me. So maybe I'll add a little bit of oil. I'm not sure. Oh my gosh, but the bread is looking pretty good. Dimpled, dimpled, dimpled. Isn't that cool? Oh, one bead left. Make sure you get them all out. We don't want that to get into somebody's mouth. Oh, look at that. Looks pretty cool. Okay, I'm gonna let this cool. Let's do another one in a round dish. Oh my gosh. I'm remembering the game Hungry Hungry Hippos. Did you ever play that game? I love that game, but for the longest time I was an only child and I had no one to play it with. Quite sad. Alrighty, let's try this again. This time with another piece of bread and more stones. Press them in. I'm gonna bake this one and see if we get different results now that I've made this a little bit deeper. I don't know. So, if you make this, get more pie weights or more river stones than I do. Alrighty, my lovelies, let's give our homemade pebble bread a taste. Look at it. Look at all those little holes. Isn't that cool? So it thins it out even more in those indentations. There's the bottom. The top seems to have a little bit more color. So let's break it. So it's crackery, but it's got a little give to it. Alrighty, my first taste of homemade pebble bread. Itadakimasu. And just as I imagined, it's very, very simple. Quite plain. In terms of both flavor and texture, it is more cracker-like to me than bread. Although there is more pliability and tenderness than a cracker, it doesn't shatter like a cracker, but it tastes floury like a cracker. I think what's missing is salt. It's very, very bland without any salt to kind of heighten the flavors. There's a little bit of sugar in there, which you can taste, but hardly anything at all. And the addition of the egg in there enriches this, but you don't detect any eggy flavor. Barely perceptible, actually. But very simple. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of pilot bread from Alaska, which also is more like a cracker than a bread, but it has a very long shelf life. It goes with lots of things. It's a great source of carbohydrates, but pilot bread is more like a hardtack in that. Yeah, pilot bread is essentially a hardtack in a round kind of puck shape. It's basically like a very hard saltine cracker, kind of similar to that, but that's what this reminds me of. Also reminds me of some of the breads that you can find in Nordic countries, like Sweden. Large, large crackers that were often dried above fireplaces. This also reminds me of that as too. Great way to store and consume carbohydrates, but I definitely think it needs to be paired with something. I feel like I'm missing something here. Alrighty, my lovelies, there you have it, homemade Shurjimo or Shurjimo, Shijimo. Alrighty, my lovelies, there you have it, homemade Chinese pebble bread. Let me know in the comments if you would try something like this, if you've cooked. Alright, this reminds me of a recipe I did a while back where I cooked a chicken using hot rocks. Fascinating. Love this very ancient technique. I'm sure it was used across cultures, using hot stones to cook food, but so excited to do so myself. Alright, my lovelies, there you have it, homemade Chinese pebble bread. Let me know in the comments down below if you've cooked with stones before, or if you have some unconventional means of cooking something. I'm all ears. I'm always happy to learn new techniques. Alrighty, thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media, like this video, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo, take care, bye! Alrighty, is the next bread ready? It is, isn't it? Yo! Let's go. Let's see how this one looks. Ooh! Yeah. I think this is the way to go. You take this and you dump it into this, like that. And then you put that back in there. And then you reveal your bread. Oh, alarm, stop. Ooh, this one looks, oh yeah, look. This is better because the stones are hotter. Look at my bread. This one looks like a Chinese checkers board. Okay, the beads don't want to come out as readily, but yes. Okay, I look like Mickey Mouse with jazz hands.